Happy Wisdom Wednesday, everyone. And this week's books of the week, oh, that was good. You gotta admit, that was good. Are two books that I've actually reviewed in the past. And specifically, I wanna talk about a phenomenal success story about marketing and traction and growth, which helped HubSpot become a multi-billion-dollar company from this one traction channel. And that traction channel is something I learned about in this book called Traction by Gabriel Weinberg. How any startup can achieve explosive customer growth by Gabriel Weinberg and Justin Mares. Gabriel Weinberg was the founder of DuckDuckGo, the search engine that actually was competing with Google not too long ago. And that traction channel is called engineering as marketing. Right? And I want to highlight it because it's something that I actually experienced, and I became a HubSpot customer, and a very avid and dedicated one many years ago because of this traction channel. The book that I have here on my left-hand side is Inbound Marketing, Attract, Engage, and Delight Customers Online. And this is really the philosophy and strategy that Brian Halligan and Dharmesh Shah started at HubSpot and made go from there. So first of all, let's talk about a big problem that every startup has. So every startup has this one problem, which is how do we get found, right? How do we actually make sure that people are aware of us, go to our website and everything? And the thing is that people don't have the incentive to do that. They're too busy to do it, and they're not really that interested, right? So this is where we start using marketing early on, during the product development stages even. And this is a time when you start using marketing even early on in the product development phase to start finding those customers that are early adopters, as highlighted in this book called Crossing the Chasm, right? We want to find those early adopters who will accept that our baby is ugly, give us product feedback, and be avid supporters and fans of the company to help it grow, right? So engineering as marketing is when the marketing team actually teams up with sales and the product engineering teams to essentially develop and engineer a tool that's free that it helps acquire customers. Right? Now, the point of this is that marketing, we can develop, let's say, a white paper to download. That's not really valuable or interesting to customers. Hate to say it, guys, it's true. But what's even more valuable than that is actually creating a tool that customers need for free to help them do something and more specifically solve a problem. So let me pull up this book, Brian and Dharmesh's book. So early on in the HubSpot days, when they were just three people, Brian and Dharmesh used to constantly do these demos for companies. And part of that introduction, because HubSpot is a marketing automation software company, they would evaluate this potential customer's website, right? So they do an SEO analysis, look at the meta descriptions, keywords, all these different things to grade the website, right? That way they can show their expertise in this and gain trust. So after a while, Dharmesh got really tired of Brian sending him all these different websites of like, hey, maybe this is a good customer, let's look at this website. So Dharmesh decided, you know what, I'm just going to, engineer and build a tool for this, right? And it took only a few days to do, and then Dharmesh went and just bought the domain websitegrader.com, right? And so this tool took people to this website. Essentially, you put your own website and you click grade. And what happens? Well, this tool that Dharmesh developed actually grades your website. I remember many years ago, this is how I first found out about HubSpot. I was building a new website for a new company I just joined, and I was like, oh, what's this website grader? So once you put it in there, you get a grade, right? Why is that important? Because since we were kids, all of us were trained that if you have a really low score, you have to fix it, right? And especially if your boss finds out about it, you got to fix it. And so this tool was free and extremely valuable and helpful because it's how I learned about SEO and meta descriptions and keywords and all these different things. And more specifically, and this is the brilliant part about this, was that after they graded your website, and this is a recent screenshot of it, you actually had very simple hyperlinks. Back in the day, there were simple hyperlinks under SEO, security, meta description, right? Hyperlinks that took you to another one of HubSpot's blog talking to you and explaining how you can improve your SEO, all for free. This is incredibly valuable. So why does this help? Well, for one, since launching Website Grader, many years ago, more than 3 million companies have used Website Grader. And it immediately showed HubSpot's expertise. So then when I thought about marketing automation and CRMs and those kind of things, I didn't think about Salesforce or anything else. I said, well, why wouldn't I just go to HubSpot? They really know what they're doing because I've passively educated myself through their content. So as I'm going through this website where I'm learning about SEO, I'm learning about all these different things, the big thing about engineering as marketing is that you want to develop something that is going to cause a trigger to happen for a customer, where it triggers them to go from thinking about doing something to moving into action. And so many years ago, at the time, I was thinking about marketing automation, I was thinking about SEO and everything, and this triggered me to start taking action to fix it because there was a grade. And of course, when I decided to do that, who else did I turn to? I said, well, why don't I just use this company? They've just shown me for free that they're experts in this. They really know what they're doing. And then when I got on the phone, because their follow-up process is really impressive, when I got on the phone with a HubSpot representative, right, that's when they educated me about inbound marketing, about the idea about developing more content, how to provide value to customers, finding ways so that people can come inbound to you, people who have the pain and they find you versus you going outbound and trying to convince people, right? The whole idea is how do you start providing value and how do you demonstrate your expertise for free before somebody actually pays you? Now, the big takeaways you can get from HubSpot's website grader is that free tools will drive awareness, it will drive word of mouth, it will maybe even cause some virality. When there's very low customer work required, which is literally just copy pasting my URL in, but high value delivered, you have something very special there. And more importantly, you immediately and passively, while you sleep, demonstrate value to the customer, and simultaneously, there is a trigger there that causes a customer to move from thinking into action, and that's the key. And I think when we as marketers start thinking like this, our salespeople will respect us a lot more because now we're thinking of, if our salespeople do something during a process that's valuable, how can we work with product and engineering to develop something that's quick and easy, that the salesperson doesn't have to do it anymore, the customer does it on their own, and more importantly, it finds high quality customers, plus we've just decreased the timeline. So rather than the salesperson getting on and trying to immediately demonstrate authority and expertise and all these things, that's all done before they even get on the phone with the customer because the customers experience that through the website. Now, the other interesting thing I want to share about HubSpot is that after using Website Grader, and of course I get into the system because I have to add my email, what HubSpot also tracks is that they have about 25 different tools, maybe 30 now on their website, many of which you can use at a free version, right? And so the trigger is that within 30 days, if somebody uses 5 of those 25 tools, that is a trigger to indicate that this person is going to be in a high buying mode. And of course, not at that time with that company because at the time we had Salesforce, but at my next company, I did that, and more specifically, as I was jumping around HubSpot because I used Website Grader, started reading about SEO, then I started reading about another thing, then they proposed a tool for me, and this is all on my own within the website. Then I self-nurtured and educated myself. So by the time I got on the phone with them, they didn't have to explain anything to me. They didn't have to pitch me on anything. My first question was, okay, how much does this cost and how soon can we get started? And since then, I've been an avid fan and user of HubSpot. And this is not a sponsored video, by the way, just FYI. But I can't help but appreciate when I see really, really good marketing. And to the point that you find here in Gabriel Weinberg's book, Traction, if you look at the Bullseye Framework, which he comes up with here in this book, and actually, I have an idea. You know what? Let's ask me from the past. Hey, Omar from the past, do you mind taking over and telling us a little bit more about the Bullseye Framework and Traction?
Flashback.
Well, the thing that I love about Traction is that there are 19 different channels that they dove into and tested in. And of course, they did this with both their own companies. Channels such as affiliate programs, offline events, trade shows, community building, engineering as marketing. 19 different channels that you have a very specific way to approach and test. Now, here's the thing. You can't test all 19 channels. And so, using the power of the internet, let's take a look at one of the frameworks that they provide to guide you through that. So, 1, 2, 3, and there you have it. Now, this is the 3-step Bullseye Framework, and of course, the whole goal of it is to get to the bullseye. The center of that bullseye is the #1 traction channel that gives you the maximum distribution. And of course, for startups, this is very important. You can't do everything. You have to find that one that'll get you to amplify your business, and you can start adding on to them. So let's start with the outer circle of this bullseye. So first, starting out on the outside channel, or the outside ring, with your entire team, you go through all 19 traction channels. And the whole purpose of the outsider is really to get you to counteract these ideas and brainstorm. So for each traction channel, you got to come up with at least one idea of what that looks like and at least a decent strategy of how to implement that. And once you go through the outer channel, then you start counteracting those ideas before you move on to the next ring of the bullseye. Now, even though you just went through all 19 channels, there's only going to be a handful of them that actually have potential and have great ideas and decent strategies associated with them. Take about 5 or 6 of them and promote them to your middle ring. Now, your middle ring is where you're going to actually test and figure out what's going to work. Now, for the traction tests you're going to have in this middle ring, you should be able to set up these cheap tests and answer 3 very specific questions. 1, how much will it cost for you to acquire customers through this traction channel? 2, how many of your potential customers are available through this traction channel? And 3, are these the type of customers that you want to get through this traction channel, right? And of course, I know this is going to take time to do, but doing this ahead of time will save you a lot of energy, a lot of money, and more importantly, when you find something that works, you're going to scale it up and amplify it very, very quickly. It'll be tough for your competitors to keep up with that. Finally, once you figure out that one channel that's actually succeeded the most and has been working, you focus on it. That's what goes in your bullseye. And where a lot of marketers and founders really screw this up is that while they've identified that one channel, for example, let's just say it happens to be trade shows or running ads on a specific social media platform, they're still distracting themselves trying these other different channels. Once you find that good one, focus all your efforts and budget there for a certain amount of time and just milk it for everything that it's worth, or at least to a point that you've automated it very well. And then later on, you can decide to bring in another traction channel, maybe the second best, and test that and try and amplify it.
End of flashback.
Thanks, Omar from the past. So those are your books of the week. Go check them out. Start researching. Start thinking about engineering as marketing and team up with your sales and engineering teams and try and figure out what's something that's part of our process to sell and prospect to customers, and how can we engineer a product, something that'll help us acquire customers, but more importantly, provide value for free, demonstrate our expertise for free, and do it all passively while we all sleep at night. What would that look like? So think about it. Engineering as marketing. Those are your books of the week. Happy Wisdom Wednesday, and as always, I'll see you next week. Take care for now, and be sure to buy these books. Take care.